My name is Skylar Vaughn, and my life unraveled in the heart of Atlanta. I was 17 when my parents sat me down in our too-clean living room, their faces tight with nervous tension. My mother, Claire, a poised woman who always smelled like lavender, spoke first. "Skylar, we need to talk about who we really are." At first, I thought it was another divorce talk, they'd been fighting for months. But then she dropped the bombshell. "I've always known I was a man. I'm transitioning. My name is Caleb now." My father, Daniel, a broad-shouldered man who coached my little league games, didn't react like I expected. Instead of anger, he looked relieved. "And I've realized I'm a woman," he said softly. "I'm Danielle." I remember laughing, hysterically, bitterly, because what else could I do? My mother was becoming a man, my father a woman, and I was just collateral damage. "So what does that make me?" I snapped. "Some fucking experiment?" They tried to explain, to reassure me, but I was already shutting down. That night, I packed a duffel bag, stole $200 from my dad's wallet, and walked out. Atlanta's streets were unforgiving. I crashed on couches, then in shelters, then in strangers' cars. When the money ran out, survival meant selling the only thing I had left, myself. By the time I turned 19, Skylar Vaughn was dead. And Luna was born. By 21, Skylar Vaughn no longer existed, not legally, not emotionally, not even in the mirror. The girl who had run away from home was gone. In her place stood Luna, a high-end escort with a new face, a new body, and a new rule: never get attached. Plastic surgery had erased my old features, softer cheekbones, a refined nose, even the faint scar above my eyebrow from childhood gone. My voice, once higher, now carried a smoky, deliberate tone, trained to seduce. I wore perfumes that masked my natural scent, layered identities like armor. No one would recognize me. Especially not them. I worked through an exclusive agency, catering to Atlanta's elite, businessmen, celebrities, and the discreetly wealthy. My rates were steep, my reputation pristine. Clients didn't just pay for sex, they paid for the fantasy of being wanted. And I was paid to forget. Then came the booking request. Full-day session. Discretion required. Suite at the St. Regis, Atlanta. The client's name was Caleb Mercer, a wealthy entrepreneur, the profile said. Transgender, early 40s, preferred he/him. I didn't think much of it. Rich men with specific tastes were common in this world. But when I stepped into that hotel room, something prickled at the back of my neck. The suite was lavish, all floor-to-ceiling windows and low golden lighting. And there he was, tall, broad-shouldered, with sharp green eyes that held a strange, unsettling warmth. His smile was confident, but his voice, when he spoke, carried a cadence I couldn't place. "You're even more stunning in person, Luna." I forced a practiced laugh, letting him pour me a drink. But when his fingers brushed mine, a jolt ran through me. Why did his touch feel familiar? I pushed the thought away. This was just another job. Another transaction. But fate had other plans. Because by midnight, Danielle would arrive. And my carefully constructed world would shatter. The champagne was crisp, the city lights glittering below us, but none of it distracted me from the way Caleb's gaze lingered, like he was searching for something beneath my polished exterior. "You're different than I expected," he murmured, fingers tracing the rim of his glass. I arched a brow, slipping into the role of Luna. Disappointed? Fascinated. His smile was slow, disarming. Most escorts perform. You observe. A shiver ran through me. He was too perceptive. I countered by closing the distance between us, my lips brushing his ear. "Maybe I'm just waiting for you to give me a reason to really pay attention." His laugh was deep, warm, familiar in a way that made my chest ache. Then his hand cupped my jaw, thumb grazing my lower lip. "Let's skip the games." The kiss wasn't like the others I'd endured. It was slow, deliberate, as if memorizing me. His scent, sandalwood and something faintly citrus, flooded my senses, stirring a ghost of memory. Had I known this before? I pulled back, uneasy. You kiss like someone who's missed me. His eyes darkened. Maybe I have. Before I could unravel that, the suite door opened. Danielle stood there, flawless in a silk dress, her gaze locking onto mine. Sorry I'm late, she purred. Mind if I join? The air left my lungs. Because her voice was the one from my nightmares. The suite smelled of expensive whiskey and nervous energy as Danielle approached me, her red lips curling in a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Caleb watched from the bed, his gaze flickering between us with an intensity that felt off. You're even more stunning up close, Danielle purred, her fingers tracing my collarbone. I forced a smirk, playing my role. Flattery gets you everywhere. Caleb's low chuckle sent an odd shiver down my spine, too familiar, like a half-remembered dream. But before I could dwell on it, Danielle's mouth was on mine, hot and demanding. Caleb joined, his hands rough yet hesitant, as if afraid to break me. We moved together, a tangle of limbs and whispered lies. Then, as I arched back, my arm lifted, revealing the crescent-shaped birthmark beneath. Danielle gasped. Caleb recoiled like he'd been burned. Oh my God. Danielle's voice cracked. That mark, Skylar? Caleb's face drained of color. No. It can't be. I froze. They knew. Worse. They didn't even recognize each other until now. Danielle staggered back, hands trembling. Daniel? Caleb's breath hitched. Claire? Silence. Then, chaos. The room froze. My pulse roared in my ears as their shocked faces locked onto mine, recognizing me for the first time in years. Danielle's manicured hands flew to her mouth. Skylar. Her voice trembled, barely a whisper. Caleb stumbled back, his tan skin turning ashen. No. No, this isn't. I scrambled off the bed, my heart hammering. You didn't even know it was each other? My laugh was raw, hysterical. You both booked me? What the hell is wrong with you? Danielle reached for me, tears spilling. Baby, please. Don't. I slapped her hand away, trembling. You lost the right to call me that when you chose yourselves over me. Caleb's breath hitched. We never stopped loving you. I grabbed my clothes, my vision blurring. Funny way of showing it. And then I ran, before they could see me break. The cold Atlanta rain soaked through my clothes as I ran, but I didn't feel it. All I felt was the burn of tears I refused to shed, the acid taste of betrayal rising in my throat. I made it 3 blocks before collapsing against a brick alleyway, gasping like a wounded animal. They didn't even recognize each other. That truth cut deepest. My parents, no, Caleb and Danielle, had become such strangers that they'd both unknowingly paid to fuck their own child. The grotesque irony of it made me scream into the downpour, my fists pounding the wet pavement until my knuckles split. A hand touched my shoulder. I whirled, ready to fight, but it was just a homeless woman, her eyes sad and knowing. Whatever it is, baby, she murmured, it ain't worth dying in the rain over. I broke then. Ugly, heaving sobs racked my body as she held me, this stranger smelling of cigarettes and cheap perfume, offering more comfort than my own blood ever had. When the storm passed, I found myself outside the St. Regis again, staring up at the glowing windows of that suite. They were still there. I could see their shadows moving behind the curtains, arguing? Crying? My phone buzzed. An unknown number. We'll leave if you want. Just tell us you're alive. Please. I deleted it. Then I walked inside. Because some wounds need to be salted before they can heal. The elevator ride up felt like an execution. My reflection in the brass doors showed smeared mascara, cracked lips, the ruins of Luna. The real Skylar bled through now, raw and furious. They stood frozen when I entered, Caleb still shirtless from our interrupted tryst, Danielle's mascara streaked like war paint. The suite reeked of sex and shame. "You look at me," I demanded, voice trembling. "Really look." Danielle choked first. "Your eyes, God, I'd know those anywhere." Her knees buckled. Caleb caught her, his own hands shaking as they traced my new cheekbones. "What did they do to you?" His whisper cracked. "What did we do?" I yanked his hand to my scarred hip, the one from their last family vacation. "Recognize this too? Or just the parts you wanted to fuck?" Danielle made a wounded noise. Caleb recoiled like I'd burned him. I expected rage. Begging. Not the way Caleb slowly sank to his knees, forehead pressing against my thigh in silent surrender. "We failed you," he rasped. "Now let us watch you break us back." The first tear fell hot on his bare shoulder. Game over. The suite became our twisted confessional. Night bled into dawn as we sat on opposite sides of the bed, three strangers bound by blood and unspeakable mistakes. Danielle spoke first, her voice raw. "I searched for you in every young woman's face on the street. When I transitioned, I thought you'd hate me more if I chased you." Her manicured fingers twisted the sheets. "So I paid women who looked like the daughter I remembered instead." The admission hit like a knife. Caleb flinched, his whiskey abandoned. "I did the same," he admitted hoarsely. "Every blonde escort in Atlanta. I was chasing ghosts." I laughed, a broken, jagged sound. "And you caught one." The birthmark beneath my arm throbbed as if freshly branded. Danielle reached out, then stopped herself. "When you ran away. I thought I'd killed my child to become myself." Something in me fractured at that. The same pain that drove me to silicone and fake names lived in her too. Caleb's calloused hand covered mine. The one still bearing the faint scar from teaching me to ride a bike. "We don't deserve forgiveness," he said. "But let us see who you became. The real you." I exhaled shakily. No more Luna. No more lies. Just three shattered people in a hotel room, picking through the wreckage with trembling hands. Outside, Atlanta woke to a new day. Inside, we finally faced the dawn. Morning light exposed everything. The expensive suite now looked what it was, a battlefield. Empty bottles, tear-stained pillows, and three people who didn't know how to be a family anymore. Danielle sat cross-legged on the floor, her designer dress wrinkled, eyes puffy. "I kept your senior photo in my wallet until it disintegrated," she admitted, voice rough. "Carried the pieces for years." Caleb stood by the window, back turned, shoulders tense. "I hired private investigators," he said. "When they found nothing, I started hoping you were dead. Because at least then I'd know you weren't suffering." The quiet confession hung between us. I sat on the bed, my cheap lingerie suddenly ridiculous, my high heels kicked off like armor I didn't need anymore. "I almost overdosed last winter," I said flatly. "Some John left me in a motel bathtub. Woke up vomiting charcoal in the ER under a Jane Doe bracelet." Danielle made a wounded noise. Caleb's reflection in the window shattered. His face collapsing. No one spoke. The digital clock ticked to 7:03 a.m. Somewhere beyond these walls, life moved on. In here, we finally began. The days bled together in a haze of hotel rooms and half-hearted attempts at reconciliation. What began as fragile hope curdled into something darker, something rotten with jealousy and regret. Caleb watched me like I might vanish again, his possessiveness masquerading as concern. "You shouldn't go out alone," he'd say, fingers digging into my wrist just a little too tight. "Not after everything." Danielle, meanwhile, swung between desperate affection and icy resentment. One moment, she'd be brushing my hair like I was still her little girl, the next she'd sneer, "You reek of cheap perfume and cheaper men." I should have left. But where would I go? Back to the streets? To the hollow embrace of strangers who at least never pretended to love me? The breaking point came at dinner. A fancy restaurant, Caleb's treat, another attempt at normalcy. "You're staring at that waiter," Danielle hissed, her wine glass trembling in her grip. I rolled my eyes. "I'm not." "You are," Caleb cut in, voice low and dangerous. "Just like you stared at that woman yesterday." I laughed, sharp and bitter. "What, am I not allowed to look at anyone now? After you both?" Danielle's hand connected with my cheek before I could finish. The sound echoed through the restaurant. Silence. Then Caleb's grip on my arm, dragging me outside as Danielle trailed behind, already sobbing apologies. In the alley, I wrenched free. "You don't own me," I spat. "Not anymore." Caleb's face twisted. "We're trying to protect you." "No," I said, backing away. "You're trying to cage me. Just like before." I ran. Again. But this time I didn't look back. The streets of Atlanta had never felt colder than that night. I wandered for hours, my cheek still stinging from Danielle's slap, my soul aching from Caleb's suffocating control. Dawn found me outside a small church, its doors open despite the early hour. Exhausted and broken, I stumbled inside. A kind-eyed pastor found me weeping in the back pew. "Child," he said gently, "no one comes here by accident." I spilled everything, the divorce, the transitions, the prostitution, the twisted reunion. His expression never wavered. "God specializes in impossible restoration," he said, placing a Bible in my hands. "Let me call your parents." I don't know what Pastor James said to them, but within the hour, Caleb and Danielle arrived, separately, both looking wrecked. The moment they saw each other in that sacred space, something shifted. The pastor spoke truth like a surgeon's knife. "You've all been running from who God made you to be. Claire, Daniel, he formed you male and female for a purpose. Skylar, your rebellion can't fill the hole, only he can." Something broke in my mother first. With a gut-wrenching sob, Claire tore off her wig, her false nails scraping at the makeup that had become her mask. "I just wanted to be strong," she wept. "But I lost my daughter trying to be someone I wasn't." My father, Daniel, collapsed to his knees, his deep voice cracking. "I thought becoming Danielle would fix the emptiness. But I destroyed everything real chasing a fantasy." The altar became our battleground. Hours passed as we prayed, repented, wept. When dawn's light streamed through stained glass, we emerged changed. 6 months later. Our suburban home smells like Mom's lavender candles again. Dad's Little League trophies are back on the mantle beside wedding photos. I'm enrolled at Georgia State, studying counseling to help broken families like ours. At Sunday dinner, Dad carves the roast while Mom laughs at some childhood story. For the first time in years, we're not Claire, Caleb, Danielle, or Luna. We're the Vaughns. Restored. Redeemed. Real. Therefore if any man be in Christ, he is a new creature, old things are passed away, behold, all things are become new. 2 Corinthians 5 verse 17.
From the ashes of broken identities and shattered trust, the Vaughn family emerged reborn. Skylar's journey through betrayal, survival, and accidental reunion with her transformed parents led them all to rock bottom, until divine intervention changed everything. When Pastor James's words pierced their hearts, Claire abandoned Caleb's persona, Daniel released Danielle's illusion, and Skylar shed Luna's mask. Through repentance and faith, they reclaimed their God-given identities, husband, wife, and daughter. Now, laughter fills their home again. Daniel coaches Little League, Claire bakes lavender-scented cookies, and Skylar helps others heal from brokenness. The scars remain, but as testaments of grace, not chains of pain. Their story proves no fracture is beyond repair when surrendered to redemption. The Vaughns stand together, not as who they became, but as who they were always meant to be. True restoration begins when we stop running from ourselves. Moral lessons of the story. True identity is found in truth, not transformation. The pursuit of self-made identities led only to brokenness. Real peace came when each character embraced who they were created to be, not who they wished to become. Family bonds survive even the deepest wounds. Despite betrayal, abandonment, and unimaginable mistakes, love endured. Reconciliation required humility, repentance, and unconditional forgiveness. Sin's consequences are devastating, but redemption is possible. The story shows how one selfish choice, the parents' divorce and transitions, created a ripple effect of pain, yet no life is beyond restoration through grace. God's design for family is unchangeable. Happiness returned only when the Vaughns aligned with biblical roles, a father as a man, a mother as a woman, and a child honoring both. No straying is too far for God's mercy. From prostitution to gender confusion, every character was welcomed home when they turned to Christ. Final truth. There is a way that seems right to a man, but its end is destruction. Proverbs 14 verse 12. True freedom is found not in reinventing ourselves, but in returning to the one who made us. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe and turn on the notification icon. We need your support, and we can only get that when you subscribe to our channel. Thank you and God bless.